Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is my first video posting on here. I've had this channel for a while, and then just recently, in the last couple of years, I've kind of gotten into tabletop and board gaming a little bit. And being a Christian, I wanted to try something a little different and not just do your regular old board game reviews and talking about tabletop games and board games. I wanted to kind of do it from a Christian perspective. Um, so the first thing I wanted to discuss here is board games and faith. And I think it's important because a lot of people have, with your Dungeons and Dragons talk from the 80s and everything, you have the satanic panic and all that stuff, where people just automatically assume that these fantasy role-playing games and these different types of board games, unless it's, Monopoly or Uno, is automatically it's satanic, and I think there's a big stigma on that. And I think that, as Christians, we need to be careful because, in the Bible it talks about, you don't want to cause someone else to stumble. So, if you're around, excuse me, if you're around a Christian household or whatever, and you're wanting to play some games, you might want to be careful, or maybe ask them what they're comfortable with playing or whatever, just to smooth things over. You don't want to, again, be a stumbling block for someone. But when it comes to like magic and role playing and these fantasy environments, we have dwarves and elves and dragons and all this stuff. I don't inherently see, anything wrong with that. From my perspective, and I think each individual person has to look at it with their relationship with the Lord. When I'm casting a magic spell in a say, Dungeons and Dragons or some kind of a tabletop game, I'm not actually casting a magic spell. It's a game. It's different. I'm not going to go play with the Ouija board, but it's different when you're doing things like that. It's a fun environment. It's a cooperative environment where you're working with your teammates to accomplish some greater good. So I don't inherently, feel like that's something that should be, frowned upon. But with the magic and the fantasy and all those different types of things, it's just it's a game, And I heard something, I read a article a while back on, can't remember who wrote it, but it was over this same topic on how, is Dungeons and Dragons satanic or is it evil? And the guy compared two well-known games. He compared Monopoly and he compared Dungeons and Dragons. And he said, okay, let's look at Dungeons and Dragons. So what is the general goal behind the game? What are you accomplishing? You're working together with your party, your group, to accomplish goals. Most of the time you're helping, depending on what group you're playing with, you're helping people, you're asking people if they need any help in their village, you're trying to destroy the bad guys, save people if you want. And then if you look at the main goals behind Monopoly, which is a very widely accepted game in standards today. What are the main goals behind Monopoly? It is greed, bankrupting other players, owning as much physical things as you can. You have all this property, you're, rent, and you're yelling at people, arguing over money. So, and then the guy goes on to say, well, which one of these sounds more satanic to you? And it's a good point. I think we have this stigma on things that are, a lot of people, and again, it goes back to the satanic panic thing of the 80s. A couple of kids, I think, were like, they ended up getting hurt or they ended up kind of losing it over these role-playing games. And that's not necessarily that's not the game's fault. I mean, these, obviously, if you are not able to distinguish real life from fantasy, then you have some issues going. Maybe you need to see a psychiatrist or get some kind of a mental help, It's the same concept as video games, Fortnite and all these Call of Duty and all these things are very widely accepted. But they can cause issues if somebody has underlying mental illnesses or different things like that. So moving on. So what to expect going forward with the channel. This is Casting Lots, the board gaming channel. And I'd like to focus on, I have a pretty good collection here. I've been building up a collection for, probably 4 or 5 years now. I got into the hobby probably, what is it, 4 or 5, I'd say 5 years ago. And it really piqued my interest. It was something that I feel like I could get away, because I've been playing video games for my whole life, and the amount of freedom that comes from various, board games is awesome, because you have so many more options. You can do this or do this or do this. You're not just stuck with the programming like you are in a video game, or even house rules. You can go, you know what, I like the way this works, but let's change it to do this and this and this, because it's more fun for our gaming group. And I think that's awesome to be able to do that, because these rules are not strict rules. I mean, they are in the rule book, but it's my game. I mean, I paid for the game. I can bend the rules if I want to, And I think that's something that was really captivating for me getting into board gaming. The very first one I bought was Mage Knight here. And, it was something that I looked around a couple of different things, and I was back and forth in between Gloomhaven and Mage Knight for my very first, what I call intricate board games, things that are not Monopoly and Uno and Risk, and I was just captivated by Mage Knight when I first got it. It was, it's got good reviews all across the board, pun intended. If you go look them up online, it's just great reviews everywhere. So that was something that really led me more towards getting Mage Knight as my first purchase. Of course, a few months after that, I ended up delving into Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion first, and then I started on, big box Gloomhaven is what I call it. And I still haven't finished Gloomhaven. I got so many things on my list to play that I move back and forth a lot. So I'll play Gloomhaven when I'm in the mood, and then I'll go to something else. Another big box game that I'm really happy with is ISS Vanguard. That's something that I don't know, the idea of that, the space, the ship management phase, where you go through and recruiting people and doing, developing technologies, developing different items for your crew to take on missions and things like that. And that was just really cool for me. I really enjoyed the shipbuilding phase. So anyways, going forward, I would like to, sometimes we're going to be focusing on, we'll do reviews of specific games and, kind of maybe how to play and solo variants. I'm a big fan of things with solo variants. And if it doesn't have a solo variant, chances are I'm probably going to come up with some kind of a solo variant for it. So, we'll go forward doing some stuff like that and hopefully have fun, and hope you guys enjoy. I appreciate your, like and subscribe as always, and we'll see you next time. Thank you and God bless.